Hello, welcome back to episode 2 of The Cultural Witch. As you can see, there's still no video. Sorry about that. If you saw my Samhaim video, you could see that I was in a hotel. I'm traveling, actually I'm moving, and we just got into our new house. Things are a mess. Maybe part of the reason why I would rather not film a video. And also, I just don't have a good video editing program, so one of my friends recommended me a good one. I'm just trying to decide if I actually want to pay for it or not. I was using Windows Movie Maker. It's free. It kind of does the job, but if any of you have ever used it, you know the frustration of it just shutting down. So I don't think I'd like to do that right now. So we'll see. Maybe next time. Anyway, before I get into the main topic of this video, I just wanted to answer some of the comments that I received. And really, I think I only got one question that I'm not going to work into my main topic, so I'll just go ahead and answer that one. So I had a commenter asking how doubt has affected my work. I'm assuming, my magical work. So I just wanted to talk about that quickly. Magic, and pretty much everybody can tell you this, magic is all about your intention. So if your intentions aren't strong enough, what you're doing might just be a waste of time. I don't want that to sound mean. I don't want it to sound too negative, but a lot of people will tell you that it's just if you go to work on a spell or a working ritual and you are really not putting your heart into it, you should probably step back, take a look at it. And I can say that this is definitely what happened to me when I had first started. Last video I talked about how I had to leave the Catholic religion, and I don't know if I really touched on this much in the last video, but I was dealing with a lot of guilty feelings, really. And guilty feelings will totally throw off your groove when it comes to practicing magic. You just can't get in the mood. You really have to be in a certain mindset, because spells and working rituals are really, really driven by your intention and your desire. So if you're doubting something, like I said, you should maybe take a step back, reevaluate, do some, deep analysis about why am I doubting this so much. And for me personally, it just took time, honestly, to change. There wasn't one moment that just snapped into place and said, aha, I don't have to doubt myself anymore. No, it just took a, a long time of me getting to know myself, getting to know this person who was no longer Catholic like she was her whole life, and getting to know who I was and what I really wanted, and how I was going to make that happen. So that's my personal experience. I know I didn't really give any good advice there other than don't do something, which isn't really helpful. I totally understand that. But anyway, that's just my personal little experience. For me, it just took time. Maybe for other people with some serious analysis or some meditation or what have you, it might be an easier, quicker process. Who knows? If you have any suggestions about this topic, please let me know, because I don't give good advice on this topic. I'm sorry. Anyway, so on to the main topic, which a few people actually requested that I do, and it's a quite topical topic. So we're going to discuss how I personally celebrate the Sabbats. I've heard people say Sabbats. I think it's Sabbats. Okay. Anyway, so yes, a lot of people ask me this. A lot of people who are just curious, or people who are just beginning their form of secular witchcraft. Like, how do you celebrate holidays if there are no deities to worship or to work with? So here's what I personally do. I try to celebrate in a few different ways. I'm actually going to use Samhain for an example, and this was just a few days ago, so it's most recent. So with Samhain specifically, I try to do 3 things in particular, and it's kind of a mix of different traditions from different cultures. I don't claim to be a purist at all, but I think this mix of traditions and mix of practices fits in really well with how I celebrate Samhain and how somebody else could celebrate as well. So the first thing that I do, and I think this is the one that really pertains to ritual, um, is remembering the dead, especially those who have left us this year. I know this is really big. For example, if we look at the holiday Dia de los Muertos from Mexico and other Latin American countries that celebrate that. And yeah, I'm not making the comparison that, Dia de los Muertos is Halloween for Mexicans. No, it's not the same. But it's around the same time and it has some similar roots. And I like to do that at this time, kind of because of that reason. It's a convenient time to do this. So this year, for example, what I did during ritual was just light a few candles. I changed out my altar stuff to kind of like the fall decorations, which is nice. I love to decorate. Anyway, and what I just did this year, actually this year I lost my last grandparent, my grandmother, and she was probably the closest grandparent to me, and so it was a hard year. And I have a lot of things that belong to her, and a lot of things that, for example, she was the one who taught me how to sew. I like making costumes. And she was the one who made me my first costume and taught me how to sew. She bequeathed her sewing machine to me. And actually, I have what I used in the ritual, and this may sound kind of silly, but she made a lot of these little, like, dish scrubbies. She just, like, crocheted them and made a whole bunch of little dish scrubbies. And I have, like, I don't know, like 10 of them. And I don't want to use them. I can't use them because they were hers. I know that sounds silly, but anyway, I just had this nice little remembrance ritual for her. I had the scrubbies in the ritual. But it was just my way of like remembering her and celebrating her life and her connection to me, which is definitely more in a crafty way. That's how I will always remember her. So anyway, that's thing number one. Thing number two, I love to celebrate the changing of the seasons. This is just me personally, and this is, I think I mentioned last time, one of the main reasons why I stayed a witch when I decided to not try to believe in deities anymore. I am just so inspired by our Earth, our planet, and especially the seasons and how they can make one place look so different depending on the time of year. And so I like to celebrate the change in seasons. And I know this is not technically the end of autumn. So the end of autumn is technically at the winter solstice, which is in December, at least for the northern hemisphere. But I think most people could understand that here in the northern hemisphere, in the United States, Canada area, this is the time in November when we really start seeing signs of winter creep in. And I just love that. I love celebrating going into a new part of the cycle and watching everything around me change, looking at the trees, feeling the air. I just really love that. So that's another part of my ritual celebration, is just thinking about that, maybe putting up some decorations about it, saying a short poem about it. Not praying to anyone, not working with any deities. You don't have to do that, just to keep in mind the seasons, basically. Anyway, thing number 3 is I like treating Samhain as a new year, actually. And I know this is kind of, I think it's more of a Wiccan thing. I'm not entirely sure. I remember reading in several places that Samhain was once seen as the new year for some ancient cultures. I'm not entirely sure on that. Don't fact check me on that. I've seen it written in a lot of Wiccan books, and whether that be true or not, I like to use it. I think it's a great excuse to make Samhain resolutions, like New Year's resolutions, and especially just this year, especially because Samhain was happening at a time of change for me anyway. I'm moving, getting a new house. And this past year, the months previous to this, when I was still living in Argentina, were definitely a hard time. And I like to think of this as an opportunity to kind of close the door on that chapter and just say, okay, it's in the past, we're done here, and open a new chapter, gracefully. So, for me, it's an excuse, but I think it's a good excuse. So, like I said, you can make Samhain resolutions, and my big resolution this year, as far as magic goes, is to read more books. I am so poorly read, you guys. I don't even want to talk about that. But I'm reading a lot of books right now. I have a new book, and I'm going through that. And if you have any really good book recommendations, please leave them in the comments down below because I'm actively looking. So, trying to read a little bit every single night, which is not normal for me, but I should definitely start doing that. That's my resolution. So, anyway, I was going to also talk about celebrating Yule, but I feel like that's a little too far away. I'm going to leave that for another video in the future. So, if you have any comments or any questions or anything, please let me know in the comments down below. And I will see you all later. Toodles!